Alright, so this is going to be a follow-up to my video on the artwork that I posted last night, which is now private because some of the points have been nullified that I made, mainly because Embus and I just kept looking for reasons why we could be wrong or it could be fake, and we found some stuff, which I'll be showing in this video. And then also on Reddit, somebody brought something new to my attention, which is this, and I had no idea this existed, but apparently EMINEM had this website so people could make their own version of the artwork, and you would be able to keep the perfect grain detail. Now, this is actually interesting though, because you guys can see what I'm talking about. Basically, if somebody were to make this artwork without this as a source, this would just be a black rectangle, and they would have to recreate every single speck in like the grain that you see here, and that would just be impossible. But now that we can see that's okay, somebody could have this as a source. I'm sure if they went into the website source, they could get the original PNG, but as it stands right now, you just add your picture, and then it gives you a mixed down, just flat artwork with the picture combined. So that would be a super huge boost to trying to fake the artwork. Now the next thing that I also want to talk about is I said that something about stuff being lined up when I was making my video. With that, what I meant with that was that somebody, with my old theory, obviously they would have had to cut these things out, all these letters perfectly, and then place them back in the same exact spot with the same exact pixels, and they didn't just go on Google and get some logo like this. And then, because if they did that, it would not line up perfectly, most likely, and you could tell. But like what what you can see with this is just pixel for pixel. It's just like the original. It's actually, you can tell that it's been slightly moved around too, just for the sake of how they've changed the design. So if I go like this, whoops, and they also resized the buy, which is, interesting to note. I think that the fact that they did make the buy bigger and it still looks perfect is kind of, why would somebody fake that? You're making this cover and you think, I want to make the buy a little bit bigger so that it matches in with this, because this kind of is a flowing thing, the side B, and then it would be kind of weird if the buy was just kind of small right here. So they obviously made it bigger, but it's perfectly lined up and everything. It seems like it would just be an unnecessary detail that somebody wouldn't really go through the bother of doing. Now that's besides the point. Back to reasons why this could be faked. So obviously I've already talked about this part here. As for the blood, it still is, interesting how it interacts. You can see it's kind of like purplish bluish behind, like right here, which means that they had the transparent blood and they just changed the background. Or actually, you could still technically recreate this with Photoshop, because somebody else has done it on a different art. They had some tan artwork, and it might not have been perfect, but this is still something that could be faked with the blood in the background. It just would be a hard task, and it's not such a great point anymore. Now, finally, the last stuff to talk about is over here. There are some logos that have been rearranged, and I was talking about how the vinyl overlay is still consistent. Okay, well, this one's more high quality, so I'm just going to show this. But you can see all these specs and stuff. All of them are still here, even though this stuff has been rearranged, like this one right here. But actually, Embus found out that, or he found the original transparent vinyl layer. So you can see it right here, the texture. So somebody could use that to repair anything that they rearranged, theoretically. So that point is off the table. Still though, they would have to match the opacity and the brightness of how this looks. It would be a hard task to do. I mean, what I'm saying is it's not just you slap it on and you're done, but it still is a lot easier than I thought it would be. Also, if you use the clean version of the album, you wouldn't have that explicit logo. So this part would just be red anyways, and so that would make it easier. So basically, if they wanted to fake this, it just became a lot easier now that all those things I found, and that's my mistake. But now let's talk about why it still can be real. Obviously, this picture is still an unreleased one, and that's huge. That it was the biggest point ever. And then now the other stuff is that there's a couple details that I think that lead me to believe that it's real. So the first one was obviously that this buy. Why would somebody go through the trouble of resizing that and risking making it not look perfect? Because I don't know if you've ever used Photoshop, but when you take stuff and you resize it bigger, it doesn't look that great. A lot of the time, you can tell that it's been messed with. And so why would he risk that? unless he, you know, obviously used some upscale or something. But why would he risk that on something so small when he could just easily keep it the same? The same thing goes for this stuff. Why would he why would he go and cut out this stuff? You see how there's specs over this. He would have to recreate that exact font, and then you'd have to go and put it down here. Why would he do that when he could easily just write side B, like diagonal right here or something, or right here? I mean, you could make it look professional with what you have, trust me. Maybe it wouldn't look as cool as this, but you still wouldn't bat an eye at the realism. Maybe he could put it right here. But why would he move all of this stuff, like copy and paste it out, remove all the specs? Because you can see this is clear. Now maybe this font is pretty easy to find, and so that could explain it. But still, if you line these up, it's pixel for pixel, perfectly the same. Same with the JSON mask. Maybe this is also on Google too. I don't really know, but yeah, so it's just these small things that make me feel like somebody had access to the Photoshop layers. That's not to say that none of it is impossible. This is all very possible to rearrange and still have accurate, but it just, you know, sort of pushes me in the direction that it's real rather than that it's fake. So that's what I'm saying with this, that it's more likely that it has to be real than it is fake, in my opinion. Yeah, same thing for the explicit logo. They could just use the clean version. They could just add a new one, and then they would have to recolor it though, because to be fair, normally it's just black, but this one's actually kind of washed out and a little bit of a tint on it, and the same thing goes for here. So, you know, that's pretty much all I need to talk about. I also want to point out that some people have been talking about how Universal and Interscope have said that they have no information on the album. You might think, well, then it's fake, but actually, with Music to Be Murdered By, this was the same case. They had no idea until, as it says, 10 to 12 hours in advance. So if this leak never happened, they wouldn't even know about it anyways, and so that doesn't really prove anything. Also, this was a cool detail I found. Alfred Hitchcock released something, looks like an episode on the 18th of December, just a small detail. Not sure if it means anything, but that's good to know. And yeah, that's pretty much it with the artwork. I still think it has to be real, just based on the small details and that this picture is unreleased. We'll see on Friday in a couple days. But thanks for watching. Sorry about some of the some of the points I made. It wasn't quite true in the end. And that's just, you know, how it goes sometimes. I didn't know the full information that that website existed, but now I figured it out, corrected the mistake, and hopefully you guys can enjoy the album on Friday.